All right, Tony. What's up, man? So let's get into this assessment. We'll go over a few things with the movements. Just to start, I want to kind of explain the way that this movement training will work. It's about pressurizing the back chain of our body. It's about finding the right shapes, maintaining that pressure, looking at the length of our kind of our flexibility, our mobility, the length that we get through each movement. This recoded work basically starts by putting us back on the ground like we were when we were babies and looking at that way of recoding and retraining and unlearning, relearning how to move from the ground to standing to walking to running. So we start with a lot of rocking. The integration is the rock, crawl, stand, squat, hinge, run, all that. And then after you've integrated these movements and recoded, you basically get to explore within these movements. You get to explore with your body. You have freedom to move pain free, right? Or reduced pain, potentially performance increases, your movement capability, your aesthetic and muscular development is better. And this just optimizes your movement ability and longevity of your movement, as well as, getting you a foundation of knowledge that you can pass on and have this movement wisdom that you can present to other people. And I know you're working with a lot of people down in Mexico, which is awesome. And now you will have this foundation to pass along all this information. So it's about giving you the exercises, giving you the knowledge, giving you the experience within your own body to pass along. But yeah, that's basically a little bit about that. And now we'll go through kind of the assessment portion of this, which I'm fairly new at, but we can start. So right off the bat, let's start with looking at the feet. Feet are the foundation. I mean, man, if you don't have inflated tires, flat tires do not work on a bike, on a car, or whatever. Our feet are our tires. Flat tires, no bueno. So, are the feet straight? And I see just slightly outward. So, straight feet, that will be something to correct. That will be looking at the shape is one thing, but adding the pressure where each step we load in the right part of the foot, that's going to be the important thing. So we're saying, are the arches of the foot maintained? And if we look in this image, let's bring it in, we see that there's a little on our left foot, you have a little bit of an arch, a little tiny one, and this one on the right looks like it's kind of collapsed. And it looks like there's more pressure coming through that big toe, where what we want to find is pressure on this outside edge here, right? When we maintain pressure there with a straight foot, then your arches will be maintained a little better. All right. And let's zoom back out. Let's flip you around and look at the Achilles. All right, so right here. Again, we see this kind of arch collapse. And then how does the Achilles look? And really what I'm looking at is the Achilles straight. And this is looking pretty good on that leg. And this one can kind of tell. Actually, I mean, it also looks pretty straight, but there's a little bit of a curve in it. But for the most part, Achilles look good. Let's flip you back around. Kind of before we go into this squat. And we're standing. Let's go there. Let's look at the knees. Are the knees pointed straight? And I can see that we've marked the knees, which is good. You know, this one, slight. This one looks a little bit more off, but it's not bad. Let's move you a little bit. Yeah, right there. You're kind of about to hit this squat, and it looks like the knees are a little bit out, just slightly, but not terrible. Let's look at the alignment. Let's go back a little bit. So right there, you're kind of loaded. So let's look at some alignment vertically. This is not too... It's a little bit more open on this side, because if I look through the shoulder to the toe, there's some slight alignment things, but it's not too bad. Where I would really get more concerned with the alignment is that I can tell there's an angle here and here, and we can even see that the hands aren't straight across. So we have this slight angle there, definite angle here and here. It's just, it kind of shows an imbalance. It's okay though. All of this is okay. It's just about bringing awareness to it, getting an understanding for it. Let's turn you to the side to look at the vertical. Let's go right here. This isn't bad. Where our ear, through our shoulders, through our heel, like, I mean, you have good alignment vertically. That's solid. That's what you want. So not bad there. All right, let's assess the squat and the hinge. Okay, so we're squatting. Okay, there's like some good things. I mean, the feet aren't straight. And most people learn to squat with this wide stance and, you know, with holding weight and whatnot. So it's pretty typical. What we want to do is bring your feet straight and about a fist width apart. So a very tight space, and get into a much deeper, more decompressing squat, and not something where we're loading with tons of weight. Weight isn't really important. It's more about the length that you're getting through the squat and the shapes and the pressure that you're maintaining in those shapes. So the feet, not great, but this is typical of most people. My one concern here is like how that toe is off the ground, and wondering where we're actually pressurizing through the squat. Now, one thing I do like is they're loading outward. And this, we're basically kind of looking at the knees right here. And the knees are great. Great sorry. Great loading outward right here. That's what we want. We want that loading outward, just slightly out. It's good. The real thing we want to clean up is like what's going on here on our tires. Let's look at, so there isn't quite access in your rest to your squat as a resting squat, but that is, again, this shows good length through here. I mean, ass to grass, it's not easy for everyone, but that's the idea, is to get deeper into the squat. But it's not about loading weight on the squat. It's about loading and pressurizing the right areas so that we're pressurizing through the back, through the glutes, through the hammies. The knees are going slightly outward, and that our feet are pressurizing forward here and all in here, and we're not using the heels, the toes aren't off the ground, right? That the neck is a little bit more relaxed. The arms through the shoulders are all kind of relaxed and not counterbalancing us. They're just kind of, it's almost like you might see like an indigenous person just chilling, working in a resting squat, and they can just sit there for hours and hours, and it's like nothing for them. They could garden, they could do whatever, forage, anything like that. That's what we need, is that resting squat. So it's not a bad start. There's just a few things to clean up, and again, you have really good length. And for me personally, my length is shit, so that's been the hardest part. Now let's look at the hinge. Let's pull the forward hinge. Okay, so here's one thing that is really important to see with the hinge, which is the knees. And what we're looking for, and I'm going to say, like, the feet aren't perfectly straight here, but they're getting, like, your feet don't change much, but these ones, when you hinge, it's a little better. But what we're looking for is we don't want the knees out at all. Actually, what you want with the hinge is a little bit of internal rotation. We want some pressure on the outside here, and we want to alleviate the pressure going up in. So that is why we want that internal rotation when we hinge. The other thing we want when we hinge, which I'm seeing as an issue, and I think we'll clean this up if you get your feet straight and start pressurizing them right, is the arches. And we're not seeing much of an arch maintained throughout this hinge. But there's incredibly good length, way better than most people, and that's huge, because with the length, that's going to allow you to find the shape. Again, like, look at this length. Your palms are so close to the ground. That's money. I can barely get my fingertips to the ground. Again, what we want is we want a little bit more maintained pressure through here, and that will keep, we'll just create a little bit more straightness here. But honestly, it's really good. As soon as you clean up the feet, adjust the knees, your hinge is going to be money. And this is another position where we want to be able to, be down here working. You want to be able to hinge over like this for 5 minutes just to decompress, just holding it 5 minutes and finding more length and more space and the right pressure. But the guys that I work with, the guys that are what I would say are real masters of movement, they'll spend a half an hour down in this position and just like chilling, finding new openings and finding new pressure and finding length and just really feeling it as deep as you possibly can. So your hinge is pretty good. Let's look at the walk. Let's look at the back of the squat a little bit. Actually, before we get into the walk, we'll just see that like this leg loading out a little bit more than this one, and we just have a few like things going on here. Well, I drew that wrong. It's more like that, but we have like more of a collapse here than here. So, I'm seeing our right side is looking a little bit better. This whole side's better. The left side's looking a little wonky. This hinge though it's good. I can almost tell this knee's going in slightly. I mean, I think if you pressurized through here properly and through here properly and fix the feet, get them straight, you're going to have a really easy time hinging, and it's a great position to decompress and just hang out. So that's good. Let's look at the walk. So what you really want to see is that this ankle has an inside ankle bone high. And right here, it's pretty straight, slightly collapsed. And let's see what the next one does. You're kind of pressurizing. Let's go back. Well, the heel lands, then they're not too much of a maintain. This ankle doesn't look half bad though. It's more like potentially just restructuring the way the foot is striking, because your foot is very out. So again, we've kind of determined that the feet have some work to do in maintaining the arches, but I think if you start pressurizing, so you want this. This is good. It's a good place to start. We want this out movement, but we're not getting any of the in movement that we want. So this comes down. That's good. Straight foot. But this foot, we want this to follow and this to rotate out, and we're not getting that. But this landing, I'm liking it. Really liking that. So the right leg, I'm seeing good things there. Do we have one more step? We have that out to in. That's a good start. I'm looking at this right foot. It's release. And we're not having much of a release. Again, we're having this when we want release out. And that's going to come up. A lot of that is going to come from the hips. In fact, it's all in the hips. So yeah, that's a little bit of that. I mean, what I'm seeing here is you start to pressurize the feet properly, you're going to have a lot of nice movement when you start pressurizing the feet properly and getting into the back chain and pressurizing that side. Yep, it's going to be good. So then I'll give you a little bit of a debrief on what we want here. Is you want to incorporate this recode work into your training on the daily. You want to make it a lifestyle, really, especially for guys that are like our age. At our age, I mean, if you're a kid, 16, 17, 18, you're playing sport, you can recode in 3, 6 months, have no problem. But for guys like our age, we should make it a lifestyle. It can basically lead us to having really a lot of freedom in our movement, to play anything, to go anywhere, to do all of these things. So you want to look at the process as doing the work, integrating it into our nervous system so that our nervous system is, unconsciously firing the muscles properly when we take a step, when we take a stride, when we do a squat, whatever it is. We don't have to consciously think, but we do want to bring awareness through into the training, constant awareness of how we're moving. I think it's awesome that if you already have a training lifestyle, you're already coaching a bunch of people, you can immediately start using the mechanics in consciously doing it in front of people. And basically what I'm getting at is, if you're working a desk job, you're shooting yourself in the foot daily sitting in a chair. But if you don't have to sit in a chair all day and you can be up moving, this is a huge benefit to your body. And so you can be aware of keeping these shapes and finding pressure, and that's important to this process. But basically, you're looking at, like, you put like 10 weeks into recoding, or maybe 8 weeks, and then you kind of hit that cycle again, and you just you create the training, and then you just revisit cycles of the same training so that you would find deeper understanding within your body, because the movements are the foundation, but it's the feeling that you get into the movements, into your body, that matters. I don't care what you look like doing it if you feel the activation. We're not all going to look perfect. We're not all going to look the same doing these movements. We're all going to find different angles, different flexibility, different lengths. But if we're pressurizing the system properly, then we're getting somewhere with it. I mean, I myself have only finished one cycle of the recode, and I've been incorporating this stuff into my training for the last 6 or 7 months now. But I'm looking at guys that have been doing it for 3-4 years, and they're saying the same thing. They're like, I do another cycle of recode and I'm finding new things within my body. Or like me, I played some soccer for the first time in a while with some old guys in the park. It was fun. I didn't feel any pain or anything. But the next day, my left hip flexor, my left side, my left ankle was all tight, all clunky. And so what I do, I just go, okay, I got to get into the ground, get into my recode. And instead of thinking, oh, I'll just stretch out a few things and rest, no, I'll just work that side proper, get into the recode of that side, and wake it up and get it going. And it's kind of a different paradigm of how we think about moving our body, and realizing that, oh, if I tweak this or injure that, all I have to do really is bring awareness in my body through these movements and understand, oh, I just activate, and or decompress, and you recognize what you need, and your body starts telling you what you need. And for you, dealing with some knee injury and whatnot, I think it's important that you go the route of doing the work, rebuilding the body in these proper movement patterns, instead of worrying about, fixing this ligament or having surgeries or anything like that. I think that's just the old stuff. It's this money grab. It's, not helping people understand. All you have to do is create this alignment properly, get your nervous system going, and you're good. So basically, that's my spiel. I'm happy to get the work sent your way and get you going on this. Yeah, it'd be super cool to work together. It'd be cool. We can take an image like this that we have today, and you can work for 3 months and do the same thing, and you'll be like light years ahead in where your body's at. But yeah, just let me know. I mean, I got a connection with a bunch of people. The cool thing about working with me is I'll just give you this stuff, man. Like, you can just have it, because we're cool like that. Like, other coaches and stuff, they charge you for like whatever remote sessions, and we could do that. We can, and I'm not saying charge, I'm saying we could have a remote session where you and I link up on Zoom or whatever, and you set up the camera and I watch you do some exercises and give you some pointers. I'm happy to do that. But basically, I can send you images that people, either myself, I've made a few YouTube videos. They're not as good as like the guys that I think are the masters, but I can get you linked on their YouTube channel because that guy's got tons of content. But I can easily give you the recipe for the workout that you want to start with and where you want to go with that. So just let me know, man. This is a good start, and let me know what you think.